Welcome to the third episode of our leadership and people management series. In this episode, we are going to be looking at delegation. As an entrepreneur, as I've had the saying that if your business cannot operate for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months without you, then you are not a leader. You are not an entrepreneur. You have just, at best, created a job for yourself. You are self-employed. You are not an entrepreneur. And there is a huge difference between an entrepreneur or a businessman and a self-employed person, right? Now, we are not going into those differences today, but we want to look at the subject of delegation. So what is delegation? Delegation is the process of assigning responsibility and authority to another person while remaining accountable for the outcome. What this means is that you assign the authority to somebody else, you assign the responsibility to somebody else to carry out the task, but you make sure that you hold yourself accountable for the outcome that will come out of it. How does this work? Does this look like, as they will say in local parlance, that you cannot hand over a goat and still hold the rope? Yes, in this case, you hand over the goat and you hand over the rope. That is the task and the authority. However, you ensure that you are still responsible for what happens to the goat. So you don't just hand it over and then go to bed. You hand it over and still watch what the person is doing and ensure that the person is able to come out with the expected result. As simple as delegation is, by definition, it is something that is really, really difficult for many people, especially for a lot of startup entrepreneurs. The reason why they find it difficult is, number one, a fear of losing control. When you give people responsibility and you give them authority, you lose control of the process. Whether you like it or not, you lose some certain level of control because you're no longer the one doing it. Quality assurance, quality control is now entrusted to someone else. Secondly, there is that perfectionist mindset. There is that idea that, okay, if you do it better. And it is not just an idea, it is a reality for a lot of people. For a lot of entrepreneurs who build their business from the scratch, they know that there is always a sharp difference between when you were doing it yourself and when you entrust it to other people to do. And that difference will always be there. However, are you going to continue to do it yourself? And how much results can you get from doing it yourself? Another reason why people find it difficult to delegate is lack of trust. When you have people working for you and you don't trust their competence, you don't trust their capacity, you don't trust their commitment, then it becomes very, very difficult for you to delegate tasks to them. And lastly is the belief that you are the one who can do it faster. Of course, you are the author, you are the main expert in the business, especially if an entrepreneur. This also happens to managers, not just to entrepreneurs. There is tendency for you to think that you could have done it faster. So even if it has taken the person a fewer minutes or the appropriate time allocated, you feel that if you were the one doing it, you could have done it faster. The question again is, how many of those things are you going to be doing faster by yourself? And how is the business going to grow with you doing everything faster by yourself? However, as interesting as delegation is, it is not everything that should be delegated, right? There are certain things that should be delegated and there are certain things that shouldn't be delegated. So what are those things that should be delegated? Number one is routine administrative tasks. Any task that is routine, that should be done all the time, every day, and it is repetitive of the same process, it should be delegated. Number two is report preparation. Report preparation is about gathering facts and, it's not something that is complicated as such. So it's something that can be delegated. Number three, is data collection. Data collection, again, is something that can and that should be delegated if you are an entrepreneur and you have already put your team in place, or if you're a manager. The next is scheduling. Scheduling of tasks, planning and definition of tasks is something you shouldn't delegate. But when it comes to scheduling of tasks and all that, it's something that you can conveniently delegate. Then lastly is operational follow-ups. Operational follow-ups is also something that you can also delegate. That is why you have supervisors. So as the manager, you can have supervisors who help you supervise other staff to ensure that the operational process is being followed. In fact, now in many medium-sized enterprises, we now have an entire department on operation, because operation has become very, very central to many organizations. So we have an entire department on operations management, and in that place you have staff who goes around managing the operational procedures and standard operating procedures of the organization. So that again is something that should be delegated. Now, what are the things that you shouldn't delegate as the number one is strategic decisions. Strategic decisions that goes to the core of the organization is not something you should delegate to someone else to do, because as the manager, you have the overview, there are informations you have as the manager that those people you may want to delegate those things to do not have. And because of that, they will not have the faculty to be able to come out with sound decision. Next is sensitive personal matters. A very, very strong pillar of every organization is the people in the organization. Managing a people in the organization is not a walk in the park. Sometimes there are a lot of sensitive personal issues that needs to be attended to, and those things cannot be delegated, because as the manager, there is every tendency for your employees to trust you more and to trust your judgment more. The next thing that cannot be delegated is performance appraiser. We have done a series on performance appraiser. If you've not watched it, I will encourage you to go and watch it. There are 10 different videos that we did on performance appraiser. You cannot delegate performance appraiser. The next is confidential information, either in the collection or in the storage or confidential information. You cannot delegate any of those processes when it comes to confidential information. Now, what are some of the steps that you can take to ensure an effective delegation? Number one is choosing the right person for the right task. Ensuring that every point in time when you need to delegate something, you are delegating it to the right person. Next is explaining the expected outcome. While delegating that task, ensure that the expected outcome is not confusing in any form. Third is providing necessary resources. You need to make sure that whatever resources that the person needs is provided to the person. Then fourth is granting appropriate authorities. It is important that once you give somebody a task, that the person is able to access every team member, every resources without any form of restriction. When you give people tasks and you don't grant them the necessary authority, it makes the job difficult and slows down the entire process and the outcome. Number 5 step is to monitor progress. You shouldn't delegate and then wait for somebody to come and give you a report. You should be able to go out and monitor what it is that the person is doing every step of the way. Then lastly is providing feedback. When you delegate a task, you have to also make sure you are also providing feedback. If you feel the person is not in the right track, let the person know. If you know the person is in the right track, let the person know that he is in the right track. Feedback is not about criticism. We have already spoken at length about feedback when we were discussing performance appraisal. I think we have an entire video on feedback, how to deliver an effective and efficient feedback. You can go and watch that video, it will help you. So in a nutshell, while you are delegating, you want to avoid unclear instructions or explanation, delegating tasks to people without giving them the necessary authority. Remember, delegation is about giving responsibility and authority. You cannot give responsibility and hold the authority back. That's like giving somebody goat and holding the rope to the goat, right? So you have to make sure when you are giving somebody a goat, give the person the goat, also give the person, also leave the rope for the person. The next is micromanaging. You have to avoid micromanaging people. People don't like being micromanaged. Then abandonment. Avoid abandoning people after you entrust a responsibility to them. They want to know that you are there and that you are right behind them and that they can get you at every point in time. Thank you very much for watching this video. Drop your thoughts in the comment section and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you in the next episode.